This is Johnny.
You're gonna need a bigger potion.
So serious.
I am Iron Man.
This is a tasty burger.
Welcome to the InSession Film Podcast.
Welcome to episode 654 for September 15th, 2025, and I'm JD Duran.
And I'm Brendan Cassidy.
Happy birthday to Brendan.
Oh,
yeah!
Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you so much. 36 years old. As Tower of Power once sang, I'm still a young man.
Still a young man. A few more years till you're officially old like me, but you're still young.
What
Still
is
a little
old
child.
these days? I feel like the millennial generation has completely clouded the definition of what old actually is.
Good. I don't know. I feel old at times. It's a lot to keep up with these two young children in my house.
I mean,
But, you know.
okay, maybe you're tired, but I wouldn't say you're old.
No, certainly not getting too old, especially when I look at my dog, who knows? I think we might be getting near the end. He's old by dog
gosh,
standards. He's getting up there, and it's not looking good at the moment. So yeah, anytime I feel old, I look at him and then realize he's like, that's what old really is. I'm not quite there.
How old is he now?
He's gonna be 13.
Okay.
So he's getting up there, and he's a big dog. He's not a small
Yeah.
dog. He's like 76 pounds. So he's, not one of those monster 100 pounders, but he's not tiny by any stretch of the imagination.
Mhm.
Those hind legs, man, they're going. They're
Oh,
going.
he's
That's not
getting
gonna
to
be
that
long.
point.
Yeah.
He's becoming a
he's
bionic
lost
dog
11
man.
pounds in just the last few months.
Oh my gosh, just not eating.
Not eating as much. We just took him to the vet because he's showing signs. It's
Well, I'm sorry to
depressing,
hear
but anyway, happy birthday to Brendan.
That's a
That's
morbid way to
mostly-
say happy birthday to me. Maybe I do feel like I'm getting old.
I know the point of the whole thing was to say happy birthday to Brendan. We're having fun. We're here to talk about movies. It's going to be a good time. Before we get into it, I want to say thank you to all of our InSession Film VIPs. You guys are the best. If
Absolutely.
you want to get access to any of our bonus content, if you want to become a VIP and support the show, patreon.com/InSessionFilm is one of the best ways to support us. If you're watching us here on YouTube, become a member of the channel. You'll get access to all of our bonus content that way, or you can sign up via Apple Podcast subscriptions. Very easy to do there as well. And you'll get access to all of our VIP episodes. And we have a brand new one, and it's the first one without Brennan and I. Shadon Larkey was at the Toronto International Film Festival, and she talked with Erica Richards about her experiences there, the on-the-ground vibes, celebrity sightings, all the fun things happening at TIFF. So that was a really fun episode if you want to go and check that out. And certainly more Chasing the Gold content coming this way. In fact, Shadon has, I think, 2 Chasing the Gold episodes coming out this week and then one next week. It'll be a 2-parter talking about TIFF and all of the films that she saw there. So you can be on the lookout for that. Of course, this week for reviews, we have Conjuring Last Rites. Megan Kearns, Lane Mills did a great job talking about that movie.
Absolutely.
And we recently just released our episode on The Long Walk. Brendan and I covering that one. So you can be on the lookout for all of that. Before we get to this week's show, we're going to do a fall preview. It's going to be our 2025 fall preview show here, and we have a fun little way that we're going to do it. It's very different than how we've done it in the past.
This might crash and burn. We've never done anything like this before.
Yeah, who knows? It sounds great on paper.
It might just turn into a conversation with different criteria surrounding it.
For sure. Most likely, but it's going to be fun. Before we get there, though, I want to talk about 1999 again. So last week on the show, episode 653, was our 1999 retrospective. And boy, did we have a great time. Of course, we reviewed Magnolia, if you want to go and check out our review of Magnolia. But then on the main show on 653, Brendan and I talked about the year as a whole, what we thought about the legacy of 1999, and then we talked about our top 10 movies of the year, our top 20 movies. Ultimately, we revealed our top 20.
Yeah.
And it was one of the strangest episodes we have ever done.
It was one of the greatest InSession Film blunders of all time.
It was incredible. And I want to talk about this in case you missed it. If you did not listen to last week's show, I urge you to go and check it out. But I do want to talk about it here as well because it was surreal. So ultimately what happened is that at the beginning of this year, back in February of this year, when I was preparing to do my watch list for 1999, and I have to begin this in February to make sure I watch everything. Otherwise, I won't have time to do it all. So I start the process early. And I texted Brendan. I said, hey, let's talk about Princess Mononoke, because that film came out in 1997 in Japan.
Yeah.
And when you look up Princess Mononoke on the internet, IMDb, Wikipedia, Metacritic, whatever the case is, it'll have 1997 next to it, even though in the United States, that film came out in 1999. Roger Ebert, Josh Larson, many critics, when you look at their list for 1999, Mononoke is there. That's when it came out in the States. And we have always gone by, whether it be the retrospectives or even in real time, we have always gone by limited release date, U.S. limited release date.
Yeah.
That's how we've always defined it. So in February, I said, Brendan, what are we going to do with Mononoke? And Brendan's response was 1997. That's what we're going to do.
I said, let's stick it to 1997. Let's go against our usual rules, our usual criteria, because the further back we go with these retrospectives, the harder it's going to be to maintain this usual criteria that we're going to keep doing with each year concurrently that we're in, right?
Yes.
So I said, let's do 1997 because I feel like at this point we need to shift gears a little bit.
Yes. And that made sense.
Yeah.
For reasons I'll note here in a second, I don't know if I articulated that clearly, but it made sense to me. I did push back to Brennan in our text chain to say I am conflicted because, again, I understand why people associate it with 97, but given our criteria for consistency purposes, I think it also makes sense for us to do it with 1999. And I laid out that confliction to Brendan.
Yep.
And then the conversation ended.
Well, it wasn't just that. The next thing I texted you, which I think was still the same day, was, do you have the screener link for Jane Austen Wrecked My Life? That was my response. And then the conversation stopped.
It just stopped. And we never went back to it. Our lives continued. We reviewed Jane Austen Wrecked My Life, which should now be retitled Princess Mononoke Wrecked My Podcast.
That's a great one. There was a lot of wrecking going on with that whole conversation in more ways than one.
Yeah, because we just never went back to the conversation. And in my mind, again, I did not articulate it clearly, obviously, but in my mind, I was like, okay, we're going to consider it 97. All I was doing with Brennan was just laying out why I was conflicted, but was okay ultimately with going with 97. It turns out, and I did not know this for 6 months, that Brendan had the antithetical mindset.
I thought we had landed on 99, and I could not find any other reprise of that conversation to suggest otherwise. Clearly, we're both in the wrong here, JD, or we both dropped the ball because I should have absolutely acknowledged and recognized that conversation was not done.
And, clearly, in hindsight, for sure. And it's even funnier because then in June, I think it was, maybe July, but I reached back out to Brendan because of the Mononoke situation back in February, mind you. I said, hey, I'm looking at some of these other foreign films from that year.
Yeah.
What do we want to consider here? I'm looking at Afterlife. I'm looking at The Red Violin, obviously All About My Mother, Run Lola Run. What else are we going to consider? And so we came up with the list. We talked about The Wind Will Carry Us, Not One Less, The Girl on the Bridge, a bunch of other movies that we were going to, foreign releases that we were going to consider in 1999. And in that, I didn't even think to bring up Mononoke because, again, in my mind, we had already decided on 97. So I didn't even bring it up in that conversation.
I didn't even think it was part of the conversation because I thought it was also decided as 99.
So we get to the show last week when we're recording, and it doesn't come through in the final edit, obviously, but
you edited that beautifully.
Thank you. I had a lot of fun with it. But when we get to our number one picks, and Brendan's like, I think we have to stop the show because there might be a massive miscommunication here. And it turns out there was. And so in real time, in about 20, 30 minutes, we had to figure out, all right, are we considering Mononoke or not? Obviously, we landed on considering it, which I was kind of on board with back in February anyway. So it just made sense to consider it, especially because Brendan had it at his number one anyway. And it would have been my number one had we been considering it, but I thought we had moved it. So then I had to reshuffle my list, had to redo some things in real time. Maybe that came through in the final edit a little bit, but it was wild. It was a wild recording.
We have some of that raw audio of us trying to come up with this new plan, which lasted for, like you said, about 20 or 30 minutes. We might have to put that out as VIP bonus content.
I might have to. Yeah. I mean, in essence, a lot of it is also what we're regurgitating here, but it was really funny. It was wild to try to decipher what we were going to do. And then ultimately, like, screw it. Let's just consider it.
It was funny in the moment from my perspective as well, watching your face when I realized, wait, I think we made a miscalculation here. And the way your face looked was like, oh, this is going to be fun and interesting. Can't wait to play off this. And then I said what my number one movie was, being Princess Mononoke, and you just went, oh, you're right. We have to stop. It's
yeah. I was like, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. I can't process this in real time. We got to pause. Yeah. Cause I was totally thrown off. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking, what your number one was going to be, but I was not expecting that. Again, I thought we had decided. So it was a total shock.
I mean, yeah.
It was really funny.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, I love that it happened. At some point, we knew that this criteria of ours, when we focus solely on limited releases in the United States, at some point that was going to bite us during one of these retrospectives.
Yeah,
it just happened to happen mid-recording.
And with the all-timer like that one too, with Princess Mononoke, because there's been times in the last few years where that could have potentially been the case.
Yeah.
Where I'm trying to think of, I think there was a Japanese horror film that was on your list last year.
Oh yeah, Cure, the Kurosawa
Yes.
film, which technically came out in '97 overseas, but was in the year 2001.
Yeah, I saw that on other. I saw that film associated with other years aside from 2000.
Okay.
It wasn't ultimately on my list, so it didn't really matter all that much.
And that might be one given this new landscape of how we define releases during these retrospectives, I might have to go back to that film in particular and completely reshuffle where it actually lands and maybe talk about it again during our 1997 retrospective.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair to the both of us, I do feel like when we're talking about the big ones, we've done a pretty good job of avoiding that potential pitfall. I specifically think of something like Hero, which came out again. It was the same problem, 2002 in its original country, and then it came out in 2004 in the States.
Right.
So it's the same thing with Mononoke, but we had talked about it. We landed because we kind of assumed it would be high on our list in some way.
Mm-hmm.
So we had talked about it, and
we prepared
decided,
ourselves.
We prepared ourselves ahead of time. So we have done a pretty good job of being clear with each other what our intentions are with these films and what year they land in.
Yeah.
But to Brennan's point, and again, I did bring it up, but we both failed to really.
We both failed to listen.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it happens.
I think this is also our way of saying that when we get to our retrospectives from here on out, so the next one being 1998 in a year's time, this whole criteria as far as limited releases in the United States, gone. I think we got to start maybe nixing some of this criteria, or be a bit less beholden to that criteria. I think is really the way to say it. Or at least
I liked what we did in the summer as far as saying, here's my list that I want to consider. What's yours? And then let's just talk it out and go from there. Like, I liked that because I'm not totally against, like, again, Mononoke is a 99 film in the States. Yeah. When you look at a lot of other lists, it's there. Hero, 2004, it's on a lot of lists because that's when it came out in the States. So I'm not against it, but I agree with you. It's going to get trickier as we go. So I think we just got to sit down and be like, here's my list. What's yours? What are we going to consider here? And then just kind of figure it out.
We'll need a chart for all of this.
Yeah.
I'll put it on a spreadsheet.
I urge everyone to go and check it out. As Brendan noted earlier, it was one of my favorite episodes to edit. Had a fun time editing that moment. So you can go and check
Houston,
that out.
We have a problem.
Yeah, we very much did. So anyway, the 1999 retrospective was really good. Turns out it is a really good year. I guess the TLDR on the whole thing for me is that 99 is talked about as one of the best years for cinema of all time. Back in February, I was a little dubious of the claim. Obviously, some great films, but I wasn't entirely sold. And then you go through the exercise, but that's the fun of doing the exercise is you watch 30, 40 films and you get to a point where you're like, man, this is actually one of the best years for cinema of all time.
I love when that happens. We love when our cynicism is proved wrong, right?
Yeah. So especially when you're adding Mononoke to the list, then it gets even richer because I do think that is one of, if not the best animated film of all time. And I talked about 99 before the whole Mononoke fiasco earlier in the conversation. I was like, this is a really great year for animation with South Park and the Iron Giant and a few others. And now you add Mononoke to the mix and it's like, man,
it's like, okay, you know what? 1999 kind of rules.
Rules. You add in The Matrix and Magnolia and The Insider, The Sixth Sense, and all of these other great movies. Like it got to a point where like 11, 12, and 13 for me, I do consider top 10 movies, but math is what it is. So some of those movies are going to mathematically miss, even if spiritually, I think they are a top 10 movie.
Sure.
Like I do think it is a really rich year in that regard. Honestly, I have the Iron Giant at 14. I kind of feel the same way. Some people, once they saw my list, they did reach out to me and went, "Are you okay? The Iron Giant at 14?" I'm like, look, it's just a good year. I'm sorry. Like, I know. I'm ashamed. I don't know.
I mean, I had the Iron Giant at like 21 or something. It wasn't even in my top 20. Which
like it makes me
it makes me seem like I'm sick in the head or something like that.
I had Existence just on the outside. I have Toy Story 2 just on the outside. The Blair Witch Project on the outside. Like I like all those movies. I especially love Existence. That one that had to be removed because of Mononoke, and that kind of broke my heart a little bit because I really love that Cronenberg movie. Like,
That's an awesome
really
movie.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it turns out 99 is a great movie. I don't know if it's the best year for cinema ever. I still think I prefer a few other years, but
2007.
To your point, my cynicism was removed quite a lot.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun. So again, it's kind of odd and weird to say out loud that I finally got to the point where hot take 99 is a good year for cinema. It turns out everyone was right and I was wrong. But you know, that's the fun of watching these movies, and because I didn't grow up with a lot of these movies.
Same here.
I was watching some of these for the first time.
Yeah, makes for a different thing.
Absolutely. Anyway, good year. Good fun. The last thing I'll note about 1999, excellent, elite, and maybe the best year for cinema ever with film titles that begin with The Matrix, The Insider, The Straight Story, The Limey, The Sixth Sense, The Wind Will Carry Us.
The Iron Giant.
The Iron Giant. Man, like The Blair Witch Project.
Honestly, every movie should have just begun with a The.
It was an elite. Like at a certain point, I was going through my list and I was like, I have like 7-8 films in a row that begin with The.
The Magnolia, The Dick.
Yeah, I was like, man, that was kind of weird how that turned out. But
yeah,
at any rate, 99, good year for cinema there. Before we get to the fall preview, excuse me. I did want to talk about the Paramount thing, but maybe we can save that for another time as we get more details. Essentially, Paramount is looking to come up with a bid to buy Warner Brothers. Obviously, huge freaking deal. But I think given time and other things we want to get to, we'll save that. I just want to note that is absolutely something to keep an eye on.
I'm glad you bring that up because I had some thoughts prepped for that for this particular episode. Yet they were very minimal because we still don't really know what Paramount's overall creative plan is. We don't really know what that is yet. And with Warner Brothers being so successful in the cinematic game nowadays, there's so much uncertainty here that it's really hard. A lot of it would just be about speculation more than anything else.
And generally, I find the whole idea extremely bleak. Paramount was bought by Skydance.
Yeah.
And now they are going after Warner Brothers, of all studios.
Who's absolutely killing it this year when it comes to the box office. And not just when it comes to the box office, but most of those box office hits are original films.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's something to keep an eye on. We'll talk more about it as we get more detail. Because right now they're just coming up with a bid. I don't think there's any sort of official, this is happening. It's just something that's...
Warner Brothers might just let it happen and just use it as an opportunity to laugh in their face and say, nope.
Yeah. Yeah. Who knows? Yeah. At any rate, I just wanted to acknowledge that because obviously that's a huge shift if we do get to
that does go through. Yeah.
So let's go here then. Let's talk about the Toronto International Film Festival. Let's talk about TIFF from this year. The People's Choice Award goes to Chloe Zhao's Hamnet. The first runner-up was Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. The second runner-up, Wake Up Dead Man, from one Ryan Johnson. So I guess before I get to my next point, Brennan, simply, what do you think about the People's Choice Award winner, those three movies?
They're all very different from what I understand. They seem like very different animals in a lot of ways. I'm kind of, I don't want to say I'm surprised. I guess I'm just surprised to see one of them be, can we call the Knives Out movies IP now? I feel like we kind of can.
I think so.
And technically speaking, Frankenstein is IP, right?
Mm-hmm.
So two of those were IP, which is kind of interesting, just in a very different way.
And does Shakespeare count?
That's a good point. That's a good point. I didn't think about it that way. But I mean, it's not really Shakespeare's work. I mean, it is, but it's not. So it's a movie about the IP or the creation of the IP.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is and it isn't, but I don't know if that suggests that there is a bleakness when it comes to movie making nowadays. Yet I'm still interested in all three of these movies. And we'll talk about all three of them when we get to our fall preview here in just a second and how we're going to try to structure this whole exercise. But I think it's interesting that they're all very different. And one of them being the third film in a series right now, that one being Wake Up Dead Man, the Knives Out movie. And I'm hearing a lot of mixed things about Frankenstein, Guillermo del Toro's take on the movie. So the fact that it did win People's Choice is still kind of surprising to me. The thing that's not surprising is Hamnet. I feel like the narrative right now is that Hamnet is potentially going to be the movie of the year, unless something else coming out pretty soon just completely takes that momentum away from it. And we could talk about that movie later because it is coming out pretty soon. But it seems as though at that time, people were predicting Hamnet to be the movie of the year. So the fact that it wins an award like this means a lot of people, almost everybody within our film critic circle, is on board with the movie, which for a movie like this, given that it is meant to really trigger an emotional reaction from what it seems like, that does get me excited for it, which means apparently people are finding something to relate to with this one. And knowing you, JD, you will be the litmus test for this movie.
Oh boy.
Where if it doesn't work for you, then everyone else is high. Everyone else, they're seeing something that does not exist. Because you're the objective observer when it comes to movies like this. You really are. So if you're moved by it, that's proof that the movie does work. I can't wait to see your reaction to it. I
am not at all prepared. This is spoiler alert for our conversation here in a moment. It is the film I am most anticipated for the remainder of the year. I love Chloe Zhao, and then everything I have heard, and I know we talked about this a few weeks ago, so I do apologize for regurgitating the same thing here, but people keep saying to AT, the performance here by Jessie Buckley and Paul Mescal, this is the best work they've ever done. And I just want to say, wait a second here. Let's pump the brakes
we're talking about
a little
two of
bit.
The greatest actors working today right now.
Yes, Jessie Buckley, in my mind, should have already won an Oscar to this point. I would have voted for her for Best Actress probably multiple times by this point. I obviously don't have a vote.
All the way back in the Beast days?
Yes, even going back to Beast, or at the very least, I would have nominated her for several Oscars to this point. Paul Mescal has the one Oscar nomination, and his work in After Sun, I think, is some of the best work of the last 20 years. So to say that this is his best performance when After Sun exists, I do find myself being a little reserved to that type of praise and buzz because
it's very hyperbolic. It really is.
And we know how festival buzz works, right? Festival hype is a real thing, and sometimes it's warranted and sometimes it's not. And, you know, I look, for example, when we're looking at recent winners out of TIFF, even.
Yeah.
The Fabelmans wins in 2022. That film lived up to the hype and more.
Absolutely.
That was really great. Nomadland, I think, again, that came out on COVID, so maybe that's a different conversation. Chloe Zhao.
Once again.
But I thought that was really great. Love that movie. American Fiction wasn't in my top 10 for its year, but I think mostly won me over. I would have voted for The Holdovers or The Boy and the Heron over it, but I really liked it, and I could see why it won. The Life of Chuck was thrown in the garbage. Absolutely thrown in the garbage. But that film won that award over eventual Best Picture winner Anora, which came in third.
Yeah.
So again, I say that to say it wins at TIFF, so it comes out of the festival with a lot of buzz and hype. Clearly, a lot of critics responded to it at the festival, and then it comes out, and it's like a fart in the wind. No one cared. And so that is the same. And I'm not expecting that for Hamlet. I'm using an extreme example here to say festival buzz, festival hype. We know it's a thing. Sometimes it's worth and sometimes it's not. And I'm sure Hamnet will be great. Is it going to be the best performances of Buckley and Mescal's career to this point? Maybe. The answer to that very well could be yes, but I can't just on a whim go, is it? Yeah, it's better. It's going to be better than After Sun.
Something I just noticed there. Something I just noticed there, given the string of winners, the People's Choice Award winners over the years, they tend to be movies that prioritize themselves as film as an emotive experience, right? Movies that are designed to move you in a certain way. And that seems to be their track record, for better and for worse. Many cases with movies like The Fabelmans, for instance, it clearly went for what I guess was maybe the right and correct emotional experience of 2022. It's kind of surprising that a movie like The Holdovers didn't win. That movie seems like it's destined to win something like the People's Choice Award at TIFF, right?
Sure.
But it does seem like these are the kinds of movies that they prioritize, which is why I do feel safe predicting that Hamnet, regardless of its quality, is going to be a very moving experience. Many of these critics that we hold very highly, maybe they have thicker skin than us, than ours, and the fact that they still seem to be going for this thing means that there's probably something here. So I look forward to that, especially given the fact I like Chloe Zhao. I love
Chloe Zhao, and I am. Don't get me wrong, I am deeply excited for Hamnet. And Buckley and Mescal, do they give two of the best, maybe the two best performances of this year? That I have no doubt about. I do fully believe into the hype in that regard. Is Hamnet the best movie of the year?
Maybe.
Again, I am not going to be surprised at all if I respond to this film the way that I think I'm going to and have it at my number one, especially given how I continuously feel about First Man and Midnight Special and those kinds of movies. Given what this film is about, I can barely even read the goddamn synopsis without starting to choke up. I am going to struggle. I'm going to struggle with this movie.
It seems very much like a you movie.
And then on top of that, it is scored by Max freaking Richter of all people. Are you trying to kill me?
This
Chloe?
is
like, what are you trying to do here?
I think she studied your criteria or what moves you. That's exactly what she did. This is a GD movie through and through.
This is a movie that does feel as if it's tailor-made for me individually. When it's Jesse Buckley, who I've championed for years, Paul Mescal, who I'm deeply in love with and have talked endlessly about over the last few years, Max Richter, I've gone on and on about as well. And then you throw in this premise as if I haven't talked about this forever. Like, yeah, I mean, I don't want to be presumptuous here. I don't want to just automatically claim anything, but this is either going to be my number one or the most disappointing movie of the year. Like, there's no in between.
There are a lot of instances where we can sense the hype that a movie is garnering, especially when it premieres in the festival circuits. And our reaction sometimes seems to be to, okay, guys, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's just pump the brakes. Let's wait until we all get a chance to see it, and let's have a conversation about how great it truly is. In the case of Hamnet, I kind of trust that I think this is going to be something special. There's another movie we'll talk about during our fall preview where I feel like the hype train is coming in so strong that I'm ready to say, like, guys, whoa, we need to pump the brakes here. This seems excessive. And this is coming from someone that hasn't seen this particular movie yet, but there's a very specific reason why I'm bringing it up in this way. But in the case of Hamnet, it just, maybe it's just the fact that you and I have really gravitated towards films that do this kind of thing so well that Hamnet seems to be going for. And we just are moved by these types of movies.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is. We're very excited for this. And it seems to be suggesting that the movie is going for all the things that you and I love to see in movies.
Yeah.
And that's what's exciting.
And the other thing for me with Hamnet is that to a person, the reaction from everybody is almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
It is unbelievable, the consistency, the reaction to that film. Like, unlike anything else I've seen before. And that, I think, gives credence to the legitimacy of that film's prowess and not so much being a victim of festival hype.
Yeah.
So, I'm a little reserved in terms of, these are the best performances of their careers. That I need to see to believe. and it could be very well could be true.
True. Yeah.
At the very least, I do not doubt
It's
one of the best films of the year, and those performances are the best of this year. That I don't doubt. And I'm very excited. But to your point, Wake Up Dead Man, that coming in third place here or second runner up, that's very interesting. But when we're talking about IP in the sense of Knives Out, it's Rian Johnson, and I think he's killed both of those movies. I'm a big fan of both of them. And Frankenstein, it also has been getting mixed reviews, especially out of Venice, is where it first premiered before going to TIFF, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So it coming in first runner-up in second place here, I'm with you. That is a little surprising, but maybe people over here just love themselves some Guillermo del Toro a little bit more. I don't know.
well, maybe we'll talk about that further during our fall preview, but I did mention this on a previous episode that when a Guillermo del Toro film comes out, a new one, and it seems to be getting a mixed reaction, that usually gets me more excited for a movie of his. I think that because it usually showcases that he's doing something weird, even weirder for, his own standards. So the fact that Frankenstein seems to be dividing some people, that kind of intrigues me. That actually makes me more excited for the movie.
Yeah, it makes me intrigued as well. So I'm very, very excited to see that one, see what Del Toro is up to with Frankenstein. To me, it looks great. It looks fantastic. And the people that I tend to trust the most have had positive things to say, but we'll see.
We shall see.
We'll certainly see on that one. Anything regarding TIFF you want to lay out there before we move on?
I was more interested in talking about what we did, given the People's Choice Award, which, as we talked about before, tends to be a very interesting, I don't want to say trendsetter, but it does forecast where the conversation sometimes goes for Oscar season, or where it just simply stops dead in its tracks, to your point regarding The Life of Chuck, which was completely failed by Neon, I guess is who distributed that one. They completely dropped the ball on that. But it is interesting to see how TIFF tends to, I don't want to say lead the way, but it does showcase the types of movies that people are going to emotionally respond to when it comes to award season. It's a great early start in a way. I think we're going to see that again. I just think Hamnet's going to be one of those movies that is going to stay around even longer when it comes to how it functions within award season.
Yeah, The Life of Chuck, to add some context to your point, unless there's a miracle, I guess we don't know this to be true unless we have a time turner and can go into the future. But I think we can all presume that The Life of Chuck is not going to have any sort of award success this year. So it will be the first winner, the first People's Choice Award winner out of TIFF to not get a Best Picture nomination since 2011.
That's huge. That's
a long time.
But again, I think that's why I have to say Neon dropped the ball, because I feel like it's a movie that if was properly marketed and properly pushed in such a way, there would have been enough of an audience there to at least find its way into, a 10 of nominees or something like that, right? The release for that film was really wonky. It was a very wonky release.
So I think the issue there, to be fair to Neon, is that it was never a priority for them. If we had remember correctly, after that film won at TIFF, it went for weeks on the open market. No one wanted
no one picked it up. That's a good point. I did forget about that. Yeah.
No one picked it up. It just sat there. So it wasn't a priority for Neon.
That's
true. At the time,
I did
last
forget
year,
about
they
that.
had other films they wanted to prioritize.
Yeah, thank you for that
obviously,
reminder.
This year they had other things. So Neon really wasn't the best distributor to pick it up. It really needed to go somewhere else. Because I do agree with you. If it was marketed properly, if it was picked up by someone else that could give it everything it needed, it does have that kind of classic feel-good energy to it.
Yeah.
That could have had like a Coda type response if someone really put a lot of money behind it.
Sure.
But no one wanted to pick it up. Like Neon just kind of did it as a favor eventually.
Yeah.
But so you're not wrong. I just, I don't think Neon is necessarily to blame.
No, but I did forget about that little tidbit where it just sat for a while. That did not do the film any favors.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Brendan, let's talk about coffee. I need it. You need it. We all need it. We love it.
I just start smelling it right before I'm about to go to bed because I just can't wait to have it the next morning.
I know. My son loves to smell my coffee.
He actually likes the smell. How about that?
He loves the smell. I won't let him drink it yet, but
smart.
He loves to smell it. So every time I grind it up, he can hear my grinder as it's going. So he runs into the kitchen real fast and wants to take a whiff. So it's a good sign that he's going to be a coffee drinker when the time comes, which is exciting.
You're also indoctrinating him into some good coffee, the right kind of good coffee. Right?
And that's the great thing with Coffee Cult, because they source specialty grade, high-end coffee from all over the world. So what does that mean? It means that you're not going to find this coffee at your local grocery store. It's not sitting on shelves anywhere, because this is gourmet coffee, and you don't want this to be sitting around for a long time. Coffee Cult, they roast to order. So once you put in your order, it comes into the system, they roast it, it's shipped out to you in 2 days. So it is guaranteed fresh every single time. Again, these are specialty grade beans. So these are high-end beans. And these coffees
free of defects. There's nothing like that there.
Yeah, it comes with natural flavors. The Harar is my favorite because it tastes like a blueberry muffin. It is unbelievable how strong.
Who says coffee can't taste like dessert?
Exactly. It is the best. And you don't need to add anything to it. You don't have to add a bunch of milk and sugar and all these extra calories that you don't need. It just has these awesome natural flavors that you got to go and check out. So go to coffeecult.com. That's coffee with a K, cult with a K. Coffeecult.com. At checkout, use our code ISF25. Again, that code is ISF25 for 15% off at checkout. It is one of the best discounts they have to offer outside of holiday deals. So you got to take advantage of the discount code ISF25, coffeecult.com. We thank them for their support. Brandon, I love Audible. I
love books. I love stories. And I also love when these stories are spoken to me.
Oh my gosh, it's the best. There are so many great titles at Audible. I don't know if you know this. I know you know this, Brendan, but the people listening, they have over 200,000 titles to choose from. And you can listen on pretty much any device with Audible. It is incredible. Do you like fantasy books? They got them. Do you like sci-fi books? They got them. Do you want spicy romance novels? Oh, you betcha they got them.
Oh, my wife is so happy that those exist. I cannot even tell you. It drives me crazy. So I have to try to drown it out with one of the few jazz autobiographies that I'm listening to.
There you go. Yes.
There are a lot of weird words being spoken in the Cassidy household right now, but Audible is able to provide it all. They have them all in their library.
They do. If you want business books, they have that. Religious books, they have that. Sports books, they have it. They got it all. No matter what you're into, you got to go check out Audible. If you're, and I know this is a bit controversial, but it's a big thing happening right now with the Audible, so I want to let the people know in case this is your thing. But coming out in November, they're redoing all of the Harry Potter books with a full cast.
Yeah.
A full cast that I read over the weekend includes the likes of James McAvoy and others that are going to be voicing these characters. So it's going to be unlike any audiobook
like a
you've ever
better
heard
cast
before.
than the Harry Potter show that's coming out.
It probably is a better cast of the show that's coming out. And look, I understand some of you might not want to support said author. She that shall not be named. Will not name her, but I get it. But I want to, for those that are interested, they have the full cast coming out. That's the big thing they're pushing right now. So since Audible has been good to us, I wanted to let the people know that is the big thing. One of the big things happening over there at Audible. audibletrial.com/InSessionFilm. Click that link and you will get a free audiobook. You know what else you'll get, Brendan?
Oh, do tell. Some type of
30
trial, right?
A 30-day
days?
free trial. Yeah,
something like that.
absolutely. 30-day free trial.
Can't go
Free
wrong with that.
audiobook. 30-day free trial. audibletrial.com/InSessionFilm. The link will be in the description below. Go check out Audible. I love it. You're going to love it. And we thank Audible for their support. All right. With all of that said, let's go ahead and transition to our fall preview. And this is going to be really exciting. We're doing this a little bit differently than how we usually do. So instead of just doing a ranking of a top 5 or a top 10, or even just having a general discussion, what we have done is taken all of the films that we are anticipating in some sort of way, and we are putting it through a tier system.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how we want to define these tiers, again, goes back to the whole Princess Mononoke disparity, because we don't really have a set criteria here. It does seem as if Brennan has a different criteria than what I had laid out to him. I have 3 tiers here. My most anticipated, the films I'm still really excited for, and then tier 3 for me are the films that I'm curious about. Okay. That's how I had labeled mine. It does seem as if Brennan has a different tier. And I think based off of that, in real time, it might be fun to see how I can manage to reshuffle my list here a little bit.
Well, I don't think we really need to reshuffle anything. I think it's just more of I guess it's a way of sort of providing structure to a general conversation. Because you mentioned you had 3 tiers. I technically have 4 tiers, but I did leave a 5th tier reserved for a small handful of films where I'm like, I'm not interested in that at all.
Gotcha.
Which we maybe
the
won't
not
acknowledge
interested tier.
Yeah.
Well,
so
okay. Then in that case, I also have 4 tiers, but in the case of my 4th tier, I didn't even bother to put them on the list.
Yeah. Now, granted, my list is pretty huge because I tried to do a pretty comprehensive look at everything that's coming out during the fall and winter seasons.
Okay.
So there's a lot here. And mine's not really ranked in a certain way. It's really just more categorized is really the way we're kind of doing this. But right now I have an S tier, which is basically the top of the top, right? And then I have an A tier of movies that I'm still very much looking forward to. B and C tier kind of blend together in a certain way. They're more so the films that I'm curious about. If anything, I'd say my B tier are movies that I'm interested in. My C tier are movies where I'm more curious about, which is maybe not quite at the same, I guess, anticipatory height as the way I define my B tier, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. I think I just combined by your criteria A and B a little bit.
Sounds like
I just my tier 1 is my S tier, and then tier 2 for me is your A and B, and then C is or 3 for me is your C, the curious tier. That's kind of how I've labeled it. So.
But I do think some of these are going to blend together for us as we kind of talk about this. I wouldn't be surprised if we find a lot of crossover in that way.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So where do you want to start? Do you want to start at the top or start at the curiosity level?
It's a great point. Because I think there's a multitude of ways we can do this. My first thought was, do we actually want to talk about it, not necessarily film by film, but maybe go month by month, start in September, October, November, and kind of do it that way? It might be cleaner to actually start with the tiers themselves and just focus on it.
I was going to say, I did not label these, to your point a moment ago. I don't have these in any sort of order, so I certainly don't have them categorized by release date.
All right. I have that over here. Random. So that's totally fair. I didn't ask you to do that, so I don't blame you for not being prepared. So let's start with the curiosity level. Let's start with what I guess is technically my tiers 3 and 4 somehow combined, and then also just how it works within your curiosity tier.
Yeah, so this is tier 3 for me. The films that I have here, I'm just going to list them, and then we can see where we cross over, and then we can talk about them.
Okay.
I have Begonia here. I have Ballad of a Small Player. I have Eternity here. Wicked for Good. Zootopia 2. Shelby Oaks, Springsteen, Deliver Me from Nowhere, After the Hunt, Waltzing with Brando, Peter Hujar's Day, Twinless, Kiss of the Spider Woman, Good Fortune, and The Running Man are my curiosity tier.
Okay, the only disparity we have is I have The Running Man much higher. That's the only difference. But other than that, you listed pretty much not everything. There's a lot more I have here in my combined interest/curiosity tier. Such as movies like Springsteen, Deliver Us from Nowhere, or Ballad of the Small Player, After the Hunt, I also have here. I also have Kiss of the Spider Woman and Begonia and Shelby Oaks and Wicked for Good, Zootopia 2. Good Fortune, I think I mentioned that one already, and you said that as well. I also have here The Smashing Machine, primarily because it feels like a movie that just seems more like a vehicle for an actor than it does an actual movie. So I'm not, and the last time we've seen directors who are known for their brotherly pairings veer off into their own things, it's not as successful as when they're working together. Sometimes there's a reason for them working together. So I'm not sure how that's going to function with the Safdies in this case. If it's going to be like with the Coens, maybe one of these movies between Marty Supreme and The Smashing Machine will be The Tragedy of Macbeth. The other one will be Honey Don't. So I don't know.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but The Smashing Machine is one I have more of a interest/curiosity in. The other one that I have pretty low, and it's a movie I might change my interest in depending on how some of the reactions start to shape up, because I think this is a movie that people and critics are seeing as we're recording this now. But A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey, the new Kogonada film. And that's primarily because all of the marketing seems to suggest that this was Kogonada as a director for hire. And I really hope to be proven wrong, but I'm just not sure if I'm buying that that's going to be the case just yet. And that's partially why I have it kind of lower, but maybe on the upper tier of interested in, as opposed to just being curious in. I just worry that it's not going to be enough of a Kogonada film for me. That worry is what keeps it down for me, but I'm hopeful that I'm proven wrong with that one.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I have Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey in tier 1 for me because all the way back in January, I had this as my top. It was in my top 10 most anticipated for the whole year. And I don't want to diminish that necessarily because of the marketing. I don't necessarily disagree with you that the marketing hasn't pulled me in the way that I hoped, but it is Kogonada. And until he proves me otherwise, I cannot go against him. And I love the two lead actors that are involved. I think they're both great. So despite the marketing, there's nothing that I can really say of value, like at least of the things that I value, that diminishes my excitement overall. So it's still tier 1 for me.
Okay.
But almost exclusively because of
Kogonada.
Of Kogonada and Colin Farrell and Margot Robbie. Yeah.
Sure. That's fair. That's fair. I will give another film that I know we're going to have a pretty big disparity on, so I'll just get it out of the way now. But in my curiosity tier, I have Wake Up Dead Man. And that's primarily because I'm not quite as high on the Knives Out movies as most other people are. I enjoy them. I think they're pretty good. But I haven't ever really been blown away by any of them. And I guess that very minor reservation is probably why I'm not quite there for Wake Up Dead Man yet. And I've been hearing a lot from the reaction at TIFF and even some of the early reviews now that it's probably the darkest of the three, which actually has me even less excited for it, because I actually think these movies are best when they're not taking themselves seriously. I think that's why Glass Onion is probably my favorite of the two we've seen thus far, because it's the silliest and kind of stupidest of the three, or at least of the two that we've seen thus far.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if a darker direction is necessarily what I'm looking for in these movies, which is obviously a very different thing. It could be a very good movie, but I haven't been fully on board with them just yet. So that's why it's a little bit lower for me personally.
All right. Yeah, I have this in tier 2. I love those movies. I think they're really great. I don't think they're like, I don't have either of them in my top 20 for their respective years or anything like that. But I think they're a lot of fun. I don't mind that the first one takes itself a little bit more seriously. Glass Onion is silly and ridiculous. I love both of them. There's been some disparity between those two for whatever reason. I am not involved in any of that. You won't find me in that debate at all. I love them both for different reasons.
I will say this. I do like that they feel like very different movies.
Yes, they're different movies. I appreciate that. And I think that's what I'm most excited about with Wake Up Dead Man is that it feels like a completely different movie from the first two. So I love that Rian Johnson is keeping it fresh. All the buzz is extremely or mostly positive. I have it in tier 2 because I'm still very excited, but I'm not expecting it to be one of the best movies of the year or anything like that.
No, I'm with you.
So, tier 2, solid tier 2 for me.
So I guess there's one movie I do want to bring up here that we both have in our curiosity / passively interested in tier, and that's Begonia, the new Yorgos Lanthimos film.
Yep.
And I'm curious why that is for you, because normally you and I are people that have been very excited for Yorgos Lanthimos. And we have a movie like this that has such a ridiculous and kind of interesting premise. Why we have it so low, I'm curious why that is for you.
I think a lot of it for me just simply comes back to the Lanthim. I'll be perfectly honest. I don't have a good answer for that.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No. And here's the reason I'm saying it's not good. I have this lower on the list, and it really has nothing to do with Lanthimos or how I feel about Lanthimos, and it has everything to do with how insufferable I find the Lanthimos discourse to be.
That's fair. Okay.
And I think as a result, even though I do really like Lanthimos, and I've mostly appreciated the Lanthimos, Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons relationship, I think it's been extremely rewarding for the most part. And I'm very excited to see Begonia and how they continue that trajectory. I think the trailer was fascinating. Really love the cast. There's a lot for me personally to be excited about with Begonia, but I could not be less interested in the conversation around Lanthimos.
That's fair.
It is extremely vacuous. It is mind-numbing, and I just don't care. And it has deflated my balloon. So I'm taking my empty balloon, and I'm going home.
I'm sorry.
I'm just going to relish in that depression. So that's where I'm at with Begonia. That's why I say I don't have a good answer. It's not a good answer, but that's my honest answer.
Well, I think it's a fair answer. And I guess in a way I'm kind of with you regarding Begonia. Although I think there's another side of it for me, and hopefully this doesn't deflate your balloon even further. And I say this as someone that does quite like Yorgos Lanthimos, at least up until this point. But he is a filmmaker who is known for his wild swings, his irreverence, his eccentricities, his weird fetishism. We'll simply say that as well. But for the past few years, we've gotten a Yorgos Lanthimos film every year, right? At least one every year. And I think given how abstract and strange his movies can get, sometimes that's too much. And I think at this point now, I might be just temporarily Lanthimosed out, if that makes sense. I think I would be more excited for Begonia if it were coming out in maybe 2 years from now. But the fact that it's coming off so quickly off the heels of movies like Poor Things and Kinds of Kindness, I think he needs to let his films breathe a little bit more. I think if
it's just the Kinds of Kindness of it all, and the specific explicit discourse that came out of that, although the conversation around Poor Things wasn't all that great either. But that was the first film from Lanthimos since The Favorite. It had been 5 years when Poor Things came out.
Yeah.
And it was obviously extremely successful. It had great critical reaction. It went on to win all these awards. I think it received 11 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture. Obviously, Emma Stone wins for Best Actress. So it was this huge sensation. If Kinds of Kindness didn't exist, and then 2 years later you get Begonia, I wonder
the attitude changes. I think you're right.
The attitude changes, absolutely. Because then at that point, it's been like, okay, it was 5 years, we get Poor Things, another 2 years, Begonia. You don't feel overwhelmed. But when Kinds of Kindness is thrown in between there, and then you add in the conversation around that film and Lanthimos as a whole, and that's where it starts to kind of overflow a little bit. I'm not Lanthimos out because of Lanthimos. Again, I'm Lanthimos out because of everyone else being insufferable as a result of the
That's
Lanthimos.
fair. That's fair.
That's where I'm at with it. But I do understand what you mean. I think Kinds of Kindness, maybe, I don't know. I'm not saying he shouldn't have made the film. Maybe came out at a different time. I don't know.
I think these three movies coming out so close together, maybe not the smartest of strategies. I'll simply say that.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I don't mind it, but I can understand that.
Mm-hmm.
As far as anything else in my tier 3, I don't know if I have anything else that I want to necessarily highlight here. Other than I'll mention Good Fortune. I'm again curious about, because it's the first film from Aziz Ansari. It's the first time he's been back in the mainstream in any sort of way in a long time. It's a directorial debut.
I kind of forgot about him after Master of None.
Yeah, I'm really curious what this is. The reports out of the first showings of the film was kind of lukewarm, so it doesn't seem to be getting incredible praise, but decent enough. And I'm curious about the Aziz Ansari of it all, so that's why I have it here. And Wicked for Good, how does that stick the landing?
I don't think it does. I have doubts, especially given my love-hate relationship with the musical, and my love-hate relationship with the musical on Broadway is because I love the first act and I hate the second act. So that's and this is the second act. So that's the thing that gives me most pause outside of just the John M. Chu of it all.
I agree. All right, here's my tier 2. Okay, I have a few more films listed here. I'm just going to list them all, and then again we'll compare and contrast.
Okay.
So here's my tier 2. Again, in no particular order here. The Smashing Machine. I mentioned Wake Up Dead Man a moment ago. Eleanor the Great, Roofman, Good Boy, Tron Ares, Frankenstein, Blue Moon, Neville Vague, Left-Handed Girl, Jay Kelly, Merrily We Roll Along, Father, Mother, Sister, Brother, Marty Supreme. If I had legs, I'd kick you. I think that's how you have to say it.
I love you too, JD.
Nuremberg, House of Dynamite, which that one I'm starting to sort of regret. That one might move up to tier 1. The Christophers, Surratt, Hedda, The Secret Agent, and The Testament of Anne Lee. That's my tier 2.
I have a lot from your tier 2 in my tier 2 as well. I guess like maybe just to add a little bit of variation here, should I say a few of them that are on my tier 2 that weren't listed there? The new film from Bradley Cooper, Is This Thing On? I have in my tier 2.
Tier 2. Go slow and I'll add it to mine.
Okay.
So that's tier 2 for me as well.
That's tier 2 for you as well. This one is probably tier 1 for you, but I have it in tier 2 for a particular reason, and that's, how's it pronounced? Anemone, The Return of Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yes, that I have. So I went back and forth on this one. I had it in 1, then I moved it to 2, then I moved it back to 1. I kind of went back and forth on it.
The thing
I'm at 1.5. Does that count?
Well, I guess that counts. I have it in tier
1.5.
I have it in tier 2 because I tend to put more stock in the filmmaker than I do the actor on screen. But the Daniel Day-Lewis,
we don't really know. Yeah,
we don't know much about his son. So I don't know how the movie itself is going to shape up. Seeing Daniel Day-Lewis again is not even a tier 1. That's a tier infinity.
Like
yeah,
exactly. Yeah, how does that not like that? Like again, that's why I went back and forth, because the DDL of it all, that's automatic tier 1. Yeah. And I admittedly loved the trailer. Like the filmmaking feels very JD, but I don't
Looks like
know
a
if
horror
that's
movie.
real or facade. So I'm not really sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It looks interesting though.
Looks horrifying.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's something I do have in tier 2, just simply because I don't really know enough about the Day-Lewis family outside of Daniel and what they're capable of as artists. So that there's still a little bit of uncertainty there. There's the horror movie Him from producer
tier 2 for me. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, from Jordan Peele, but he's producing this one. It's directed by Justin Tipping, I believe his name is. A movie that actually does take the literal thing we keep saying about how a movie like Whiplash is actually a sports movie. So it says, let's do that same thing, but make it actually a sports movie. So,
yeah, like more literal. Yeah.
Yeah. Predator Badlands, I have in tier 2.
Okay, so I didn't list this one, and maybe I should have. I think this is tier 3, but maybe like low end 2 for me.
Yeah, it kind of sits in that middle phase, but I put it in tier 2 because it looks like it's, once again, 20th Century Studios going back to their old 20th Century Fox properties and letting their filmmakers cook.
I am interested. Like the trailer was interesting to me. I will give it credit for that. Yeah,
it was intriguing. Yeah, so yeah, and that's another reason why I have it in my tier 2 here. There are actually a few documentaries coming out that look really interesting that I have in my tier 2. One of them being the John Candy documentary, I Like Me, which I've heard some pretty good things about.
Okay.
There's also a movie coming out called Megadoc, which is about the making of Megalopolis. Which
so I have the screener for that sitting in my email, and I'm waiting for the time. I have to get the time to watch it. I haven't had a moment yet, but I am very eager to get to that this week.
Yeah. I am as well. I have one more movie in my tier 2 that I know we'll talk about at some point during this conversation. I might save it for later. Simply because I don't want to talk about it now. We can work our way towards it.
Okay.
Actually, okay, but I will say this. Another movie I do have in my tier 2 that I know is nowhere on your list. Black Phone 2.
Yeah, not on my list.
I thought the marketing looks pretty powerful.
Okay.
But I mean, it's obviously riffing on A Nightmare on Elm Street. It's not hiding that whatsoever. I think I'm just a sucker for a good needle drop in a trailer, and the utilization of Rooster by Alice in Chains was pretty cool. So that might be the reason why.
That's how you know it's going to be either not in the movie or forcibly contrived to, Suicide Squad like be in the movie.
This might be the Suicide Squad of horror movies.
Of horror movie, exactly.
There were some that you said in your tier 2 that actually make its way to my tier 1, so I'll highlight those later.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'll just go through a few of these here real quick. And some of these, honestly, I have here in tier 2, but they could creep up to tier 1 the more I think about it. There are a few already that I'm wrestling with. One of them is Tron Ares. I am a Tron head. I'm a Tronny.
Tron Legacy
That's
rules.
probably the wrong
that
word.
That first movie's really Tron head.
Yeah, I'm a Tron head.
You're a Tronny, a Trocky.
However you want to label me. Like, I think the first film, despite all of its weird 80s graphics, is a lot of fun. I especially love Legacy. I think it's great. Tron Ares, I think, looks awesome. It looks like a ton of fun. I love Nine Inch Nails being all over the marketing. I can't wait to hear what that score is like.
Oh, yeah. We're getting a new visual album from them. That's all I care about. I don't care if the movie's good. We're just getting more Nine Inch Nails.
And I think as a film, it looks really compelling too. My only reservation, as is the case with a lot of people, is the Jared Leto of it all.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. But everything else looks fantastic. And maybe my other reservation, especially since I've come to love Tron Legacy, is I have questions about where is Sam now?
Yeah.
I want to see that character again.
I hope we do.
And there's a lot of rumblings that if this film is successful, those characters will come back in the next one. So I am fingers crossed, but I'm really looking forward to Tron Ares, excuse me. It's like borderline tier 1 and may get there in the end, but with a few things here and there, I decided to keep it in 2. But that's one for me.
It's kind of like with the movie anemone, right? There's an aspect of it that makes it tier infinity, but then other aspects that keep it down a bit.
Keep it down,
Obviously, with Tron Ares, it's the Tron of it all and the 9 Inch Nails of it all that make it something that's really compelling and exciting me. Other stuff I'm unsure about. Even the individual they have directing it, I'm blanking on his name. I know he's had a few successes recently working under the Disney umbrella, such as The Young Woman in the Sea with Daisy Ridley. But I know he's most known as another partnership, and they made the 5th Pirates of the Caribbean movie, which was not very successful outside of Jeffrey Rush. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
again, that's another question mark. And ultimately why I went with it in tier 2. You mentioned it earlier, the Smashing Machine and Marty Supreme. What are the Safdies going to bring to those two films as separate filmmakers? I am interested. I am interested to see what those are like.
I will say, of the two, I'm more interested in Marty Supreme, and I guess
think so as well.
I think that's primarily because of the two, it's the one that doesn't seem as watered down. It's the one that still seems like it's retaining most of the Safdie brothers' DNA as a collective. In that trailer, I see more of uncut gems in Marty Supreme than I do the Smashing Machine, if that makes sense.
I agree. But I'm still interested in both. So we'll see where those two go. I also wanted to highlight here Left-Handed Girl, and this is worth mentioning, and forgive me, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce the name, but it is directed by Su Shi Ching. Again, forgive me, I'm probably butchering that, but noteworthy because she is co-writing this with Sean Baker and has worked with Sean Baker on all of his movies, with Tangerine, The Florida Project.
Yeah,
and
I forgot about this movie.
So this is, again, like, I don't know what the art terminology would be, but I keep thinking about this in terms of football or in sports in general, when you have what they call a coaching tree, where you're the head coach, and then you have all of these assistants that also become successful and start being head coaches as well. You fall under that tree. And this is a little bit of that, where you have the Sean Baker tree. And she's been working with Sean Baker for a long time, and on all those films that we love and have talked about forever here on the show. And now she's getting to do her own directorial effort here. I don't think this is her debut. I think she co-directed a film in 2004, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to look that up, but I think that is the case. And maybe there was another feature in there, I can't remember. But this is certainly her first directorial feature. In fact, I'm looking at it here. This is her second feature. Her first one since Takeout, her first one here as a solo director, but she did write this with Sean Baker. So I'm curious about the Sean Baker influences, and I've heard a lot of people compare this to the Florida Project.
Okay.
So
that's an automatic tier 2 for me as well. I totally forgot about this movie.
And this was selected as the Taiwanese entry for Best International Feature at this year's Oscars. So something to keep an eye on as well when it comes to awards. And we know, especially after this last year, that Sean Baker is in favor with the Academy. So
he's on their good graces right now.
He's on their good graces. So does that have any sort of influence here when it comes to international feature, especially if he gets on the awards marketing circuit like he did last year to push this at all? If he does, something to be to keep an eye out. But regardless of awards, I'm just curious about the Sean Baker involvement and influence.
If we see a lot of him in it.
I've heard really good things about the film.
That's awesome.
Really
I totally forgot about this one. So that's an awesome one.
Okay, so that is tier 2. Obviously, there's a lot of other films we mentioned that I'm really curious about, or really interested in. Excuse me. I want to be careful with my terminology here.
Oh yeah.
Because these are tier 2 films for me. I'm very excited for all those that I mentioned. Are we ready to move to tier 1?
The top of the list? Yeah, let's do it.
All right, here are mine as of now. Some of this might change depending on how the conversation goes here. Obviously, Hamnet, as I mentioned earlier. Train Dreams, another film that premiered or at least was shown at TIFF.
I'm just going to say
reaction to that was quite similar to Hamnet.
I'm just to make this easy because I think we're going to have a lot of crossover here. I'm just going to say the word "yep" every time you have one that's on my list.
Okay. One battle after another.
Nope.
Yes.
That's
Avatar.
my tier 2. That's my tier 2.
Oh, that's
Thomas
your tier
Anderson
2.
is it? Yeah, I'll talk about that in a second, but that's not tier 1 for me.
Okay, that's not tier 1 for you. Avatar: Fire and Ash was on my list here.
Yep, tier 1.
Die, My Love.
Tier 1.
The Mastermind.
Yep.
It Was Just an Accident.
Yep.
Sentimental Value.
Yep.
No Other Choice.
Yep.
And then the other two I have here, I'm not sure if they're on your list, or if they are, they might not be here. Obviously, I mentioned Big Bold Beautiful Journey earlier, so we don't have to talk about it more, but I'll reiterate it's on my tier 1 here. Mm-hmm. And then the last one here, and the DDL film is obviously tier 1 for me, tier 1.5. And then the last one is The Voice of Hind Rajab. Forgive me, I could be butchering that, but another one of those films that played out at TIFF and got extremely incredible reviews and a reaction out of that. And I don't know if you remember this, Brendan, but the filmmaker behind this film, and again, I don't know how to pronounce the name, so forgive me, Katir Ben Hania, who directed the documentary Four Daughters a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And I was blown away by that doc. Good
documentary. Yeah, absolutely.
Incredible. So also noteworthy, the reaction on a TIFF, the fact that it's the same filmmaker as that doc, that put it up to tier 1 for me.
Okay. Yep. We have a lot of crossover. Absolutely. I'll mention a few others before I get to one battle after another, because I actually have a lot to say about that. But I will say in my tier 1 as well that I didn't hear you say, Good Boy, the horror movie Good Boy.
I mentioned that in tier 2. Yeah.
Oh, you did? I didn't hear that. My bad. Did you say Frankenstein? Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein?
That was also in tier 2, yeah.
Okay, I missed that as well. That's the thing, when you're going through so many films, not all of them are going to stick. Did you mention A House of Dynamite, the new Catherine Bigelow film?
Yeah, again, Brendan just wasn't listening when I went through tier 2, obviously.
I guess not. I was too busy trying to cross things off, but did we lose service or something like that?
No, it's just real funny. Because, House of Dynamite, I said explicitly, which just makes this even funnier. And I
swear I don't remember you saying that one.
I said House of Dynamite, and then I added on, I said, this also might be tier 1 the more I think about it. I put it in tier 2, but I'm starting to regret that. I think this might be tier 1. And then I mentioned the next one.
I wonder if the service cut off, because I do remember. Now I remember you saying Good Boy and Frankenstein, but I don't remember you saying House of Dynamite. So that's on me. That's on me. Who
knows? Maybe the stream got cut off. Who knows? But
maybe.
Yeah, I did say that. Yeah.
Well, I will say one of our biggest differences here is that I do have the two Linklater films, Blue Moon and No Lavage, in my tier 1.
Yeah. That's perfectly fair. Yeah, that's understandable. Yeah.
And I will also say, if I were to weed this down into one movie that I am most looking forward to for the rest of the year, it is probably No Other Choice, the Park Chan-wook film.
Yeah.
Just given how much I love that man.
He's one of the best. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I love Park Chan-wook. That is absolutely up there as one of my most anticipated. So yeah. The Ethan Hawke films and the Linklater films, I'm very much looking forward to those as well. The only reason they're not in tier 1, I guess it comes down to two things. I don't know how any of these films are going to play out, but in terms of how those films fare against my tier 1 movies, I don't know if they'll resonate in the same way as far as how deep I go for them. But that could be a bit myopic because I love Ethan Hawke. I love Linklater. I love the idea of those movies for sure. And then the other reason too is I tried to limit my tier 1 a little bit just to give a little bit more weight to having those films in tier 1, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah. I'm just such a big Linklater head that I couldn't separate them, even though the movies do seem, fair. By comparison to some of these others, they do seem like they could be pretty slight. But sometimes his, very slight movies tend to be among the best of the year. So
those are the ones that you go for the most.
It's a Brendan thing. I like these slight meandering movies. Linklater's the king of these hangout movies.
He is great at that.
And from what I understand, like Blue Moon especially, I think they're calling a what did they call it? A bottleneck movie, because it all takes place in like one location for pretty much the entire runtime.
It sounds awesome.
That's intriguing for me.
I am very excited. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about Paul Thomas Anderson. Let's talk about One Battle After Another. And when we talked about doing this exercise in some way, shape, or form, before we even settled on this tier direction, I would have had One Battle After Another probably in like my top 3 most anticipated movies of the year. But there's one thing about it now that is really giving me pause, and it's the excessive positive reaction it's getting. And that is, it's a little different with something like Hamnet, which is going for an emotional type of reaction, right? But Paul Thomas Anderson is not the kind of movie or not the kind of filmmaker where I look for universal praise. I get most excited when I sense people are provoked and challenged by him. And because the overwhelming positivity around this movie is all over the place, and everyone seems to be saying the same thing, that it is now the new movie of the year, that gives me so much hesitation. Because that kind of uniformity is what I don't really want to see in a movie like this, at least a PTA film. And that's scaring me. Like, that is kind of scaring me. So I hope to be proven wrong, and I hope I come out of it thinking, wow, that is very much a PTA film, and it is going to challenge more people. But I'm worried that it won't. That's the thing that's scaring me now, and that's why it's kind of lessened for me, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. I think to your point, where I share some of that dubiousness, is that so much of this gives me Inherent Vice vibes when I watch that trailer, especially. And it makes sense given the penchant of it all.
Yeah.
And I love Inherent Vice. On a good day, it is a top 3 PTA film for me. I deeply love that movie a lot.
It's great.
And that film is extremely polarizing, to your point. And that's so much of the excitement for me with that movie.
Yeah.
And I did get Inherent Vice vibes with the trailer with this, especially that first trailer. And the excessive uniformity, I do agree with you, that makes you wonder as to what's going on here. However, I will say this, doing Magnolia last week does maybe offer some perspective there, because Magnolia is one of those movies that, has been talked about to death. It's been analyzed to death, and it's often talked about as, his best movie or one of his very best movies. And it's universally praised. And there's a large consensus on that film as well. Hopefully this is more of a Magnolia. It's more of a There Will Be Blood, in the sense that it has this universal thing to it where we all collectively go, oh yeah, no, that just is one of the best films of the year. I'm hoping it's that.
I hope so,
and we've seen that with PTA a few times to know that he is very capable of it. And given the cast here and what this could be, especially given our current political and cultural state, could everyone come around and have this unified moment with this movie? I could see that happening. Yeah.
Yeah. And I say this as someone who thinks of PTA as maybe my favorite filmmaker, at least my favorite filmmaker working today. So I don't say this as someone that doesn't look forward to a movie of his. I guess to your point, there was a lot of Inherent Vice vibes from the marketing for this movie. And even during some of the pre-production press around it, there was a lot of talk that it was loosely inspired by yet another Thomas Pynchon novel. I think it's called Vineland.
Yeah.
I don't think that is official anymore, but I still think, from what I understand, PTA did pull some elements from it.
Yeah, from what I've read, it's loosely based. So
well, kind of like how There'll Be Blood was very loosely based on Upton Sinclair's Oil. It might be a similar thing, but I think maybe certain rights reasons are why There'll Be Blood was actually an adapted screenplay, and I think this is still going on as an original screenplay for One Battle After Another. So I don't know. But even after the divisiveness of something like Licorice Pizza, and that divisiveness of that movie is something I've learned to really love about it. The Master is another movie that not for everybody. That's a challenging movie.
Yeah.
And these are two movies that I think are among his best. And I think that universal praise that this movie is now getting, that's why it scares me, because I feel like PTA has been on kind of a recent trend of really trying to challenge his own ethos and what his audience reacts to. And I hope I'm not getting, or I hope we're not getting something that we feel is safe by PTA standards. I just hope that's not the case.
And I don't think that is going to be the case. If anything, maybe we're just all salivating for another Paul Thomas Anderson film, and it's his collaboration with Leonardo DiCaprio, something that we've all been wanting forever as well.
Yeah.
You are onto something, though, in the sense that since There Will Be Blood, and obviously we all kind of uniformly love and agree on that film.
Yeah.
But The Master, Inherent Vice, Licorice Pizza, and I would also include Phantom Thread in all of this, even though that might have been a little bit more accepted, but I still don't think that film was universally accepted in the same way Magnolia and
there's
There Will Be Blood is.
There's still kind of an ickiness to that movie. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that about PTA. I love that he's willing to, mold his ambition in that way. And based off of what I see with One Battle After Another, this doesn't seem like a PTA that is succumbing to universality. This feels like
maybe not.
PTA channeling his Inherent Vice and maybe coupling it with his Master and There Will Be Blood sensibilities. And if that's the case, I could see why a lot of people would come around and love this movie. And maybe, how early reactions are, they're always a bit of that anyway.
Well, and maybe that's the thing. Maybe the thing that's giving me pause, it goes back to something I said earlier regarding the hype surrounding Hamnet, where sometimes for those of us that don't get to experience it during a particular festival, you hear this incessant praise and your reaction is to say, wait, let's sit back and pump the brakes just a little bit. I'm kind of having that reaction for One Battle After Another, because the praise it's been getting, universally, it's saying things like maybe the greatest film since the 1970s. I've been hearing something like that. And it's like, guys, come on now. Really? Like really?
Yeah.
And I'm not doubting, maybe we will get a film someday in this day and age that is as good as that praise suggests.
Yeah.
I can't accept it yet until I actually see it. And because it's all over the place and so many people are saying that type of praise, that level of praise, it just gives me I don't know. Maybe it just goes back to the whole idea of how festival hype really is a thing. And I don't always love it. So it could be more so to do with that. And that's just more of a me thing and how I choose to react to it. I'm willing to acknowledge that.
For sure. It certainly doesn't help when you get critics like David Ehrlich, who I don't always agree with. And I'm sure there's a level of facetiousness here. I don't know. But his response was, One Battle After Another might be the best movie released by a major American studio since I started working as a critic, distressing how little else comes to mind.
See, that just, I don't know, that just rings false to me. Maybe it's because of David Ehrlich.
I think it is very funny though. And again,
sure.
I'm sure he's being hyperbolic to a degree, but because he went on to mention The Wolf of Wall Street and Fury Road and Furiosa and Sinners and a few others as well. Ad Astra, my beloved Ad Astra. So he went on to mention a few others, but I think the point is that it's in conversation with those movies as far as the best major American studio release. Yeah. And I think there's a level of, I can buy that because of the prowess of Paul Thomas Anderson. And I think he's absolutely capable of delivering a movie that is in conversation. Maybe not, put a stamp on it. This is the best American movie in the last 30 years. End of story. But in the conversation, I can believe that. I can believe that.
Yeah.
Well, so we'll say we'll see. I think that's ultimately the point he was trying to make.
Yeah, no, I get you.
But but it is funny, the response to this film.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of wild. It's wild.
It is coming in hot. There's no doubt about that. But
it's coming in for battle.
I mean, I think ultimately that just fuels the fire for me, but I do understand why that can also be a bit of a, let's wait and see here.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm pumping the brakes a little bit.
No, that's fair. Totally fair. Either way, still tier 1 for me, given my little tier list here. So, I don't know if there's anything else to add as far as tier 1 goes. We already talked about Hamnet. I'll just reiterate that Kelly Reichardt is one of my favorites. So anytime she has a movie coming out, it's automatically one of my most anticipated. It was just an accident. Maybe we can reiterate that as well. It didn't seem to have the same kind of buzz coming out of TIFF as it did out of Cannes. And maybe that's to be expected. I honestly don't know how much of an awards player this is going to be, much to the liking of Shoplifters, because Shoplifters won the Palme d'Or as well, right?
It did, yes.
And then it went on to get a nomination for Best International Film, and I think that was it.
I think that's it,
if I'm not mistaken. So perhaps this could be one of those situations. Maybe it gets a screenplay nomination as well. Jafar Panahi generally just is a filmmaker that caters to the Academy standards. But I also said the same thing about Sean Baker, and then last year happened.
Yeah.
You never know. You never know. I am rooting for that film and his success, just given his story, which we've talked about here on the show before.
Yeah, it's a great story. But yeah, I don't think I have anything else to add for tier 1. I did mention earlier The Running Man, Edgar Wright's take on this material. I do have that in tier 1 just because I really like Edgar Wright. So I do have that up there. I want to highlight 2 other movies here just very quickly. We're not going to spend any time on them because it's not worth it. But I did mention that I might have a very bottom tier of movies that I'm just not interested in at all. One of them being Now You See Me, Now You Don't. Don't care. And the other one being Keeper, the new Osgood Perkins film. Don't care. Yeah. F tier excitement right there.
Yeah. If I had a tier 4, I guess that's where they would be on my I don't really care list. So, no, definitely with you there.
Osgood Perkins has burned me too many times. I saw the trailer for Long Legs and thought, whoa, this looks great. Wasn't impressed. Saw the trailer for The Monkey. Oh, this looks even better. Might be the worst movie of the InSession Film era for me. So I am not falling for it again. I'm not falling for it.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm not really looking forward to either of those 2 movies either. I might watch the Now You See Me movie just because I've seen the other ones, and I try to be a completionist where I can, but and I know my wife really loves those movies, so I know she's gonna want to see it.
Okay.
But the Osgood Perkins film, I'm probably going to forego that unless reviews tell me I need to see it. But we'll see when that day comes. Yeah. My last thought on here is that I cannot wait to get back to Pandora. That's my final thought. Pandora, please get here as soon as possible.
Watch it be James Cameron's best movie.
It would not surprise me. It would not surprise me. I saw the trailer again unexpectedly before The Long Walk and immediately melted. I cannot wait. Cannot wait for that movie.
Can we just talk about once again how surprisingly good The Way of Water was. It is not one of the greatest sequels ever made or anything like that, but
But it
when
might
we're
be.
well, what I will say this, it'd be fun to do an exercise like this, JD. What are the best sequel improvements of all time?
That's a great topic. Yeah.
Yeah. So and not necessarily the best sequels as movies, but what were the best
as
and most
improvements?
significant improvements over their maybe very mediocre predecessors? The Way of Water is high on that list.
That's high up there. Dark of the Moon is going to be high up there as well.
That's very high up there.
Yeah. That's a great topic. I would love to dive into that sometime. Keep that in your back pocket. We'll certainly have to dive into that at another time.
Let's not talk about it anymore. Let's not spoil our lists.
Love that though. Love that. But yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Man, that film rules so hard. I cannot wait for Fire and Ash. And my last final thought, it's been a while since Jennifer Lawrence has been in the award scene. And I don't know what Die My Love is going to offer as far as her involvement. But there's a part of me that just wants her to come back in a big way, to be involved in a big way. I just really love her as an actress and love her rambunctious personality. And I would love to see it all over my screens over the next few months. I want to see more of her. I want to see her come back and maybe get back to the Oscars. So that's my last final thought.
And
anything else you want to add?
Working with Lynn Ramsey. It's a great recipe.
Yes, it is a great recipe.
Yeah.
All right. So that's our fall preview. Those are our most anticipated films for the fall season. Of course, if you agree or disagree with anything we had to say, leave a comment below. If you're watching here on YouTube, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, hit us up. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky. You can always email us InSessionFilm@gmail.com. As I noted, we have 2 reviews out this week. Brendan and I talked about The Long Walk. That was a really fun conversation.
A little longer,
Francis Lawrence
unintended, than we expected.
Francis Lawrence making his fake Hunger Games movie in between his 2 real Hunger Games
His
movies.
Hunger Games light.
Exactly. And then Megan Kearns, Lane Mills, they talked about The Conjuring Last Rites. That was a really fun conversation.
Oh, yeah. Huge hit for a movie, but one I probably won't see anytime soon.
I'm so behind on that franchise. I wouldn't have much to offer. I'm glad that they took up the opportunity to talk about it. And they did such a great job. It was really fun.
Yeah, thank you for
hearing
that.
them go into that one. So
yeah,
definitely urge you to go and check that out. There's going to be a new Chasing the Gold this week, a little bit of a TIFF recap with Shadon and Erica, and a new Women in Session at the end of the week as well. So be on the lookout for all of that. Anything else, Brendan, before we get out of here?
Fall's here. Winter.
Fall's here.
Almost around. Winter's coming.
The winter is arising. It's crazy. The fall season has begun. Movies. We got a lot of movies to watch, people. Get ready. Here it comes.
Absolutely.
All right. With all that said, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on the InSession Film Podcast.